You name it, we've lived it.
And are living it.
Brits moving from the UK all the way to Australia with not a pot to piss in.
A whirlwind romance sparkled on Tinder.
3 months in, pregnant, starting 2 now successful businesses through COVID.
To another 2 new businesses post-COVID, whilst juggling 2 young, spirited children.
Living worldwide, travelling and pure hustle. We are nothing short of batshit crazy, but motivated as fuck. We are here to tell you our story,
inspire,
teach,
and probably scare the crap out of you.
Uncut, raw and real. Welcome to Business, Babies and Banter
with Henry
and Jade. Welcome to Business, Babies and Banter, episode 6. What's your name?
Sorry?
What's your name?
My name's Henry.
And I'm Jade. This episode is all about our remote living in the UK, Asia, and having another baby. So, yeah.
Lots to cover in this one. Starting businesses in Australia is one thing, but then continuing the businesses in a different country is another. So it threw up a lot of challenges and a lot of difficult problems that we had to solve. And then moving around countries due to visas, babies, and unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, I feel like this one was where our entrepreneurial journey really started, because it's one thing, having a business and being the only legs of the business, which is what most entrepreneurs start doing, right? You're on the floor, on the tools, you're the one driving the business. And then it's another thing when you remove yourself from the business and you start employing people and directing them to run your business for you while you grow the business. And this is our first real experience of that. So yeah, it started on Valentine's Day, February 2022. I was heavily pregnant. And that was the day we left. Do you remember? We wrapped up our house. We stayed in an Airbnb.
Yeah, I didn't know it was Valentine's Day.
You wouldn't.
But I obviously didn't get a card, otherwise I'd have remembered.
You didn't. You got me a flight instead.
There you go. It's pretty good.
So yeah, we left. We packed up all our house. We put it in storage, and we made the plans. And we were going back to the UK to have our second child, who is the now incredible Harper Tria. And we left with our little Hugo, and we stopped in Dubai for a couple of days, which was really nice, wasn't it? Yeah.
Horrendous flights on the way out there. I don't know if you can remember how the kids behaved.
One kid. We only had one.
Yeah.
Way out.
Horrendous.
Yeah, it's always horrendous. No matter how many you have. But yeah, so we got to the UK, and it wasn't quite what we anticipated, was it? I feel like you can't really pre-anticipate or envisage what it's going to be like running your business remotely when you haven't ever done it before. And obviously there was no practice run apart from when we left during COVID, but the business was nothing then. This was the first time with all the states.
Yeah, it's especially when you're in different time zones. So when you're obviously, you have your normal meetings at 9 a.m., you have certain routines that you have with your staff, with your employees, they can reach you, they've got questions, they can get hold of you. But when you're asleep, when they're awake, it poses a whole lot of other challenges, and it also creates a lot of anxiety. Well, it created a lot of anxiety for me because I knew that the salon was open, we had weddings on. What if no one turns up? What if something goes wrong? What if someone calls sick and we're asleep? So we had to get a staff member to handle the phones, handle operations, handle new bookings, and help facilitate those challenges.
So this was just before we left. It was the first time we had ever recruited someone who was employed for the mobile business.
That wasn't a hair and makeup artist.
Yeah. So she was going to be supporting Henry on the sales team, taking all the phone calls, doing all the bookings, so that we could, with ease, be overseas in a completely different time zone in the UK. And she was actually brilliant, wasn't she?
She was good. Looking back now, her workload was the things that she had to
didn't last long.
The things that she had to do in terms of now we split the process that she had. We now split into 3. So she was doing obviously a huge amount of work, admin, phone. She was handling a lot of the process herself, which I was doing too, but we hadn't refined the process yet. So the workload for her posed a lot of stress, gave her a lot of stress and a lot of challenges. And although she was brilliant, it didn't last long.
Yeah. But you know what? I think it's all part of the learning process, right? Like, we extensively interviewed people. We came to a collective agreement that this was who we were going to select. And it was a great choice. I don't regret it at all. At the time, she fulfilled a very important role. And, you know, from my perspective, I was heavily pregnant, 30 weeks, and gone to the UK. And I don't know what I thought. Being a concession store within Miss Fox, I thought that the guys would be more self-sufficient. And I think it's easy to assume as a business owner that people have the same initiative and just coping capacity as you do. And actually they don't, which is also a massive learning curve, because, you know, it actually turned out that even at 30, all the way through to, I think Harper came at 40 and a half weeks, I had to wake up daily at the absolute latest 5 a.m. to get on a call, which I think ended up being 2 p.m. Australia time, something like that, just to check in with them, because otherwise it was absolute anarchy. And I thought, being a concession store, that between the front of house, the receptionists with the other business, Miss Fox, and, you know, the girls only being 2 of them, I was like, we've totally got this. But I did. You remember, I woke up every day at 5 a.m. And this one, when were you up, Henry? Daily.
I was going to bed at 6 or 7 and waking up at 1 or 2 a.m., which was like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Australia time. But I think it also boils down to, when you've got staff, you either give them too much freedom and then they fuck up, or you don't give them any freedom at all and then they'll never fuck up and never learn. So I think what you did was you thought that they were going to be okay, and then you suddenly realized they're not going to be okay, and had to quickly change things, which was completely normal given the situation.
First time round.
But you always think that your employees will be able to handle things that you'll be able to handle, but that's not always the case. So it's always, but then you don't want to treat them like a dummy, do you?
You don't. I also do think that just me and you specifically have a very large capacity. And that's not that we're better or worse than anyone else, that everyone has different pockets, right? How deep are your pockets? I don't mean in a monetary respect. How much can you handle? How much under the pump, you know, how many things can you juggle? And obviously, given our track record, we can do quite a lot. And we can never assume. In fact, we should not assume, which we've learned the hard way, that 99% of people can't facilitate what we can in a day, in a lifetime, in a routine, with children, with work, with business. And we really had to, it was just such a big learning curve. But from a personal perspective, it was fucking awesome, wasn't it? We had 4 weeks. You okay?
It's good for you.
Well, no, you were getting your mum's home cooked fucking meals every day. You gained about 10 kilos.
Fuck off.
He didn't. He did.
Emaciated because I was fucking stressed.
No, you were. You weren't, Bali. But no, Henry was loving it. I was getting so, like, I've never had support, right, being in Australia with kids. And so the minimal support we get, you're right there. Yeah. Sorry, Henry's just moving around. So for those of you YouTube viewers, I do apologize. He's having a little party. It was amazing, the support, and, you know, being looked after it was from February until the 2 weeks before Harper was born in April. And we did, I think, 4 weeks with your mum and dad, a couple of weeks in Cornwall with my mum and dad, and a week in Highcliffe, which is near where I'm from, in Bournemouth. And we did a gender reveal, found out it was a little girl's girl. It was just lovely, very relaxed. And there was so much help with Hugo, who was just thriving because he was with his family.
Of a luxury someone making your kid breakfast is.
Or bath time, bedtime, reading books, tantrums, naps. Like, our little fucker Hugo, he needed to be driven around for 20 minutes every single day for his nap. And Henry's mum be like, oh, I'll take him. Like, really? Thank you. So I didn't have to drive around like a twat for 20 minutes. Yeah. Absolute hell. So once we did that, we got this. I said to Henry, me being the spender of money, of course, it's like, right, we're going to go and have a baby in England. We got free accommodation basically for the first few months. But I said, I want to have an amazing house when Harper's born, because we're not doing it, you know, we're having a baby. I'm going to be at home 24/7. So we got this epic house in Kibworth.
$2,000 a week.
It was more than that, I think. It was like $13,000 for 3 months.
That's £1,000 a week. It was more than that. It was £2,000 a week. Yeah.
Maybe. Anyway, it was epic, right? And Harper was born. All was well. It was a challenge running the businesses, but we did it. We had our family. Henry was tired. And then a week after Harper's born,
our staff member left.
Natalie left.
Yeah.
So she'd been a bit weird, hadn't she?
We knew something was going on.
Stop losing your legs.
Sorry. We knew something was going on. You can always tell with staff. We have a sixth sense now. We know when something's going on with a staff member, and we can smell it 2 weeks before they even know it. But we
did have a sense, but we were just being naive and being like, oh no, she must have been a period or something. You were like, it's definitely, she'll be fine. We're definitely not going to lose her. It's fine. And I was doing all this like coaching, like trying to like really help her with mindset stuff, planning like her goals with her. And yeah, basically literally had this time. I think it was less than a week. Harper was a few days old. She's like, congratulations. 2 days later, handing in my notice. And Henry's like, fuck, because the entirety of Australian nationwide calls for Prevail hair and makeup are now being diverted to Henry, who's 9 hours behind.
So there was no other option, but I had to do it. We could have recruited and found someone. We could have tried to hire someone, but that still takes time. Then you got to train them and then train them remotely. Too much of a ball ache. So I just decided that I was going to handle the bookings myself. And I was
fucking dominated. Yeah. Look at it.
Are you good? So I decided that, look, I'll nap in the day. I'll wake up at 1 a.m., make myself a coffee. So this luxury house downstairs was pimp. It was like a renovated basement.
Yeah, it was like a really old Victorian townhouse with like 5 levels.
So the basement was gangster, great kitchen, amazing coffee machines. I'd get down there.
Pure silence as well.
Pure silence. I'd have about 6 coffees. Mind you, the fucking phone didn't work, so there's no signal. So I had to do all the miracles outside.
Yes. It was quite warm that summer though. Harpy was born in April, which is spring.
So waking up super early, getting the calls done. So I'd bang out the calls. And luckily, look, if we were at the size we are now at that time, it would have been catastrophic and it would not have happened.
Yeah.
But at that stage, we were probably doing a quarter to a third of the size of what we are now in terms of revenue. So I was able to manage it myself, handle all the bookings. I then started to employ VAs. So rather than me, this is where I had to work out that, I don't have the time in the day to handle the whole process.
Start doing that.
No, because we didn't have a VA for Natalie. Natalie was putting all the bookings in as well.
But did you do that in the UK? Did you?
Yeah, I got VAs in the UK.
There you go.
So even with no sleep, I was reforming processes and systems and optimize the back end of the process. So we got VAs, so they would help me in terms of putting through the bookings, sending deposits, chasing up payments for clients, and I could just focus on the front end, which was sales, answering the phone, and client communication.
And just for those of you that are like interested in business and, growing or wanting to grow a business, we do all of our recruitment for for VAs, for offshore tasks. It's all offshore on Upwork, which I highly recommend you check out. I talk about it on my coaching all the time. It is literally, if you need help with graphics design, content creation, script writing, Instagram,
social media,
anything, go on Upwork. It costs you like anything from $5 per hour, and you're actually supporting someone that needs the work in another country.
And actually, I'll just say this now, they're better than most
yeah, harder working, great work ethic, crack on with it, and you can track everything that they do. So we're in England, we've got this amazing house, and like, to be honest, just the whole process of having a second child the shift's huge, isn't it? Right? 1 to 2 is like, you thought it was fucking hard before, you don't know nothing. And it was a lot.
It made the process more enjoyable living in luxury.
But even having your mum, like Henry's mum would come and drop things off, and everyone that came to visit the baby would come to us. So I think we had like a 4-bedroom house. So Hugo had a room, there was a bunk bed where people's children could stay with him. I would speak to Henry in the middle of the night, of course, because I was up anyway. And actually, my communications became easier with the salon team because I was up every 2 hours. She was like clockwork Harper. She was a hungry girl. All my baby there. And yeah, so being up all night, you know, I'd go to bed at 10, I'd be up at 12, I'd be up at 2. And so I could send WhatsApp messages, be like, hey girls, everything okay? And they'd shoot back messages about the order, about a client question, or all these little things that come up that they were very reliant on me. But to be honest, I now have the stance that as a manager and a leader, if anything isn't done how you want it to be done, it's just a reflection of how you lead. That you cannot complain about a staff member or what they're doing or how they're doing it. It's either poor recruitment from the beginning and the wrong person, or you just haven't nurtured them in the right way. Well, I say it all the time, don't I?
Yeah. See, obviously, I learned the hard way in the sense that I don't like being micromanaged myself. I'm someone that can get on with whatever it is, even if I don't know what I'm doing, and I'll do it competently. But some people, they may be competent, but they may do things very, very differently. And unless you tell them exactly how it is, they won't do it how you would do it. They never will. So, you know, Jade and I don't butt heads, but we discuss it quite a lot, don't we, about micromanaging and where that fine line is. But ultimately, she is correct in the sense that
not
always, in the sense that if your team or your employees don't do things in the way that you want them to, it's because you haven't told them or shown them or communicated it. Simple.
So yes, things were going well. We did our 3 months. We finished our beautiful house. So at this point, we'd been in the UK February, March, April, May, June. 5 months we did. And Henry had obviously been working remotely the whole time, doing the phones on his own since April. And I'm going to be really honest, we were starting to run out of money. Remembering at this time, the salon, I took minimal wage from it. In fact, I don't think I took anything.
No, your parent payment stopped as well.
Yeah,
we were overseas.
Yeah, we stopped getting payments from Centrelink. Like, it was all a nightmare. Anyway, at this point in the salon, like, we were making enough money to pay for the products, the orders. We were making enough money to pay the staff. But put it this way, we didn't have enough money to pay the tax. We never paid tax. We had to set up a payment plan like years later because there just was not enough money to pay tax. And, you know, the mobile business was steady but slow. And it was hard. And the conversion rate is shocking. Australia to England, isn't it? It's like half.
Yeah. So we were losing half our money. And then England is now still more expensive than what it used to be. So our money wasn't going this far. And it got to the point where it was like, well, if we're going to hire or rent another house here, we're going to start eating into savings. So
yeah,
we had to make the decision.
I didn't even know we had these savings. He lies to me because if I knew, then I would have spent.
Exactly. fellas out there, don't tell your missus about the secret bank account. So yeah, we had to make a decision to go to either go back to Australia, which was winter.
No, that was there wasn't a decision. It was my idea. Don't take any glory.
No. I was saying we need to go back to Australia.
Henry's like, I need to go back to Melbourne. I'm like, it's fucking June. It's like disgusting in Melbourne, June to August, by the way. It's like the worst place in the whole world. All our house was packed away and I just wasn't ready. I've never really been that like committed to Melbourne, drawn to Melbourne. I was like, I just don't want to go back now. Like, I just don't. And then we still need help. The whole reason we went to England was for help. And I was like, it just defeats the purpose. But I also was very aware that England, I feel like had its time, not because we were bored, but because money, exchange rate, you know, we were in this amazing house for 3 months. We could have, of course, stayed with Henry's family, even my family. But we didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to go back to living with family. We need our space. We've got 2 children now. And Henry was like withering away. He was fucked. And so Genius over here, who obviously is just like, let's do this. Then again, I had this thing in my head for ages about, I'd really love to live in Bali. I'd love to live in Bali one day. Anyway, I have a friend in Bali, Sandra, and I just messaged her, squirreling away. I didn't even mention it to Henry. Messaging her on Instagram. And I was like, you know, what's it like? And I knew they had a lot more support, aka nannies, cheaper living, blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I'm like working out this whole grand plan. I'm like, right, it's 2-hour time difference. I'm going to be able to have a nanny to help with Hugo. I'm then going to have help with Harper. I was doing actually fucking blow me down. I haven't spoken about my coaching course, which I started when Harper was 3 weeks old in the UK. So I started a life coaching course, which carried into Bali. So I was doing that once a week. calls to train to be a qualified life coach as well. Big life coach. We love the stress. Oh my God. So anyway, I proposed it all to Henry, and he's like, no fucking way, not in there, shithole. And then I showed him some pictures, persuaded him, and basically, yeah, you're like, Bali's a fucking shithole.
It is a bit of a shithole. It is a bit. It is a bit of a shithole. Like, it's nice and fast, but there's fucking dogs eating and nappies everywhere.
We didn't know they ate nappies until we moved with that though. But no, like you came down, didn't you?
Look, it was the financial factor. It just made sense because we didn't have a house to move back to in Australia. We had a house that was there ready to go. Rent was $500.
So we paid up front $7,000 for 5 months accommodation in a 4-bedroom villa with a swimming pool. Like
a cleaner 3 days a week, a pool boy 3 days a week, and is that it?
Pool boy, cleaner, gardener. Yeah, it was
beds changed
every day. We needed it. There was a lot of fucking shit in the bed from Harper being a newborn and Hugo shitting and pissing the bed.
I'm not. What were you making? What mess were you making in the bed?
Smell. He is so fucking vile. Anyway, so we did it. We're like, right. And our family think we're mad. They're like, fucking hell, these two, you know, you've left Australia, you're doing your businesses, you're waking up in the middle of the night. Now you're going to Bali. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, we're fine.
Everyone was saying, you can't go to Bali with a newborn baby, blah, blah, blah.
I was like, watch me. And the passport. So long story short, it was probably me. I don't know who it was, but someone lost Hugo's passport. It was in a cupboard in the huge house in England before we left it. Anyway, there was a huge flap because we didn't have a passport for Hugo. We needed it for the Bali visa. Bali visa is quite expensive, by the way. And we had to make up this massive story live of the UK immigration. We had to drive miles with the kids, do you remember, to get these emergency passports for Harper and Hugo. We were in drove like,
and then when we got back from driving to get the passports,
we found it. We fucking found Hugo's passport.
Drawer that she'd already looked in,
and it cost like £500 or something insane. Anyway, we get in the visas, we book Bali, and it was amazing, wasn't it? It was actually the most wholesome, amazing family experience because the time difference changed our life.
It was just a great routine, great lifestyle. I think with Bali, you know, even if you are in the crazy parts in the mornings, it's so peaceful. Mm-hmm. The incense, the prayers, things go out, it's calm, apart from the fucking dogs barking. But
that was the area we were in. There was dogs fucking fighting all night. All right.
Good dogs, mate. But yeah, no, it was brilliant. And, you know, we got a bike. So we were going off like a little gypsy family on the bike to everywhere. We'd go to the gym. The nanny would come first thing in the morning, take Hugo to play at the park. And I was able to work. I was able to hire another salesperson during that time. We went through a lot of growth. You were able to spend time just chilling out with the baby, doing your coaching course.
And running
the salon. And during that time in Bali, we went on, because it was coming into the summer months, so October, November, we absolutely went kaboom again, didn't we? We grew massively.
So Henry finally got another salesperson that was part-time. And the salon, it was honestly just so much easier. It was 2 hours behind. So, and because I was up all night with Harper anyway, you know, waking up at 7 for the salon being at 9, it was just nothing. And we got in such a good routine. You know, Shri, the nanny, would come 8 a.m, I think. And Hugo would already be up. I'd already be up with the baby. Henry would already be working. I'd manage the kids for an hour. Hugo would then go living his absolute best life on the front of a scooter with a helmet with her, going to all the best playgrounds, all the best kids places. Like, we just gave them like the equivalent of $20 for the day, and he had the best time. He didn't wear shoes. He barely wore any kind of cardboard outside. And yeah, it was honestly just incredible.
We would get Uber Eats delivered in Bali. They called it, was it Gojek?
Yeah, Gojek.
We got Gojek in Bali because obviously we were staying in the house all day working, and we would get coffee, lunch, $3 delivered. and we were just able to live.
And I lost so much weight. We ate so well. We lived so well. Like, you were in a better place. Henry was a different person. He was a right miserable twat in England.
Oh, fucking hate England. Only sleep 4 hours a day.
Fair, but you're just extra miserable because you fucking hate England. I was loving it, obviously. Yeah, we're in Bali, and like, he would literally sit in the office and he'd come out, fucking, he's got across his mouth. He was so happy, and he was dominating. Like, it was the first opportunity for him to have dedicated time being open outside of COVID, because COVID was well and truly over by, you know, the end of 2022. So we were in Bali from the very beginning of July until the very end of October. And yeah, just amazing routine. I finished my life coaching qualification, and I did it with, I mean, it was hard. Remember, I studied a lot. I did it. Like, I just put Harper to sleep. Obviously, newborn babies nap, you know, like 4 times a day. And whenever she was asleep, I just put my headphones in, do my studying, get my work done, sit in the sun. I'm so tanned. Pumping breast milk every 3 hours around the clock, 24 hours a day. We were just happy. But we did have enough towards the end.
Yeah. You get to the point where there were times where we were driving on the motorbike and we were like, God, this is so beautiful. You know, the rice fields and driving through. And then after a while, that beautifulness, you don't see it as much. And all you see is fucking shit everywhere. The dog's going nuts. It
was the heat for me. I was just fucking sweating bullets. Oh, and also, we just happened to live opposite a rice paddy field, which was so beautiful. But we had like an orchestra of fucking frogs who would specifically go to Hugo's room. Right? We'd have to like shoo out these massive frogs. And Hugo would be like, oh, mummy, what froggies? And then there was these bloody toe tech things in the night going all night. The dogs barking. Mosquito. We had like 3 snakes come to the house that Henry had to fucking attack. One time he was out, I had to get a broom, and I was like fighting this snake away from the kids because I didn't want it to go near the kids. Fucking hectic. And then yeah, we were like, this is after this house. We're done.
I want to say though what sort of triggered it, because obviously there was.
Well, yeah, this is how we're going to end episode 6, and it's all relevant to our beautiful backdrop here today.
So obviously the salon that we currently had on Little Collins Street was a concession store. So we were part inside a business, and during the time that we were in Bali, they had movement within their management team, and it caused a lot of friction. We'd hired new staff, and some of the people were butting heads. They introduced some procedures which didn't make sense, and we could get the sense that place wasn't going to be where we were supposed to be for very long. We could sense and we could feel that there was discomfort on their side, and there was absolutely discomfort on our side.
Yeah. And so we were making our plans we were like, what are we going to do? It was either relinquish the business altogether, which I had bled for, like personally going through COVID, opening, closing, you know, having Hugo 3 months old and going in and working and just seeing it through. It felt very hard for me to just walk away from that business when we'd finally actually been making some movement.
This got to the point now where we just hired someone that was on a manager on an 80k salary plus comms.
That we thought was going to be with us a long time.
That's a story for another episode.
Another story.
So yeah, we'd come too far and built too much, and we'd gone through the trials of COVID, and we'd actually got to a point where we had a regular client base.
And we weren't making loads of money, but we weren't hemorrhaging it either.
And it was like, well, if we give up this client base, we're done. But if we move this client base to somewhere else, we could, if we time it correctly, continue with seamlessly without any hindrance, if we did certain things correctly.
Yeah. And so we made the decision to not relinquish the salon. We were going to keep going. And funnily enough, the story goes, we had a phone call and we were advised by the owner of the concession store that they had decided that they wanted to part ways with us. And I was like, we basically acted really remorseful and sad. And, you know, it was kind of a bit sad, but it's literally what we were going to do anyway. And we were like, this is great because they're going to now support us and they're not going to hate us because they think it was their idea.
Just because we missed it there, we'd actually already started looking at
looking at properties. We had the new staff member who was our manager, like going flat out viewing properties. We were like, we just need to find somewhere. As soon as it's secured, we're going to do it. And we had our flights back booked, like everything was in motion.
And they gave us 4 weeks, which was, for us, an absolute blessing, because they could have given us a week, but they gave us 4 weeks. And at this point, we'd earmarked 2 places. And I think the next week we were landing in Australia, and we were like, right, we need to make a decision on one of these. And then we've got 4 weeks before we've got nowhere to have our services. And we've got 4 weeks to put things in a different location.
And, you know, Henry being strategy left brain, he was like, look, you know, there's no reason we don't have to. And I was like, we've got to open for December, bro. I was like, we need to open for December. It's the busiest month. We're going to take off. It has to be. And so we landed in Melbourne on October the 31st, 2022. And we left the airport and we got a hire car with our 6-month-old baby and our just turned 3-year-old son. He turned 3 in Bali. And we drove to this very salon and we acquired it. And the bloke said, really, Ted? When did you get back from Bali? And I was like, about an hour ago. He was like, what?
And ironically, that same man is someone that we just signed our second commercial lease with.
We've just signed a second commercial lease, which is also for another episode. But next time on Business Babies and Banter with Henry and Jade, we're going to be going into the sheer fucking nightmare it was building and opening a salon in 4 weeks with no home, with a 6-month-old baby and a 3-year-old child, and scrambling. And I mean fucking scrambling.
This was the number one most challenging period so far.
Well, it was honestly, it was the physicality and the mental stress of knowing that you've gone beyond your scope, like far beyond your scope of capacity of what you can actually spend.
We were having to move house every 3 to 4 days.
Yeah. And we had Harper, who was like 6 months old. You know, she was up like 2-3 times a night. We weren't sleeping. We were moving. We were tired. And we literally had 4 weeks to put this entire salon together. And we put every single chair together. Every single element of this was put together by us, created by us. Massive achievement. So much to tell you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure that you leave us a little review afterwards, and we will see you next time for episode 6.
Au revoir.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
And hopefully laughing. Be sure to leave us a review, and if you're into the madness,
check out the links below to follow our day-to-day journey.
Stay tuned for the next episode.